The story that I'm about to tell you might sound unbelievable and greatly exaggerated, but it's true. The events that I'm about to retell may sound fake and unrealistic, but let me assure you this all really happened. Let me give you some background on myself. I'm what most people would call the average Joe. I worked as a construction worker and I live in a 2-story house in a suburban environment alone, and I'm single. And as for how this happened a couple of days ago, I was sitting on my couch watching TV when my show, The Sopranos, was interrupted. It was the emergency alert system. But since I lived in an area in the USA with frequent tornadoes, this was somewhat normal. After I read the emergency alert, my heart dropped. I can't remember all the details, but it was something like this. Emergency alert system. This is not a drill. The United States Civil Defense has issued the following message. At 6 a.m. Standard Time, a non-disclosed entity surfaced from the North Pacific Ocean. It is believed to be extremely hostile towards humans. Until further notice, follow these instructions. Do not look outside. Do not go outside. Do not respond to any calls for help, no matter how human they sound. Cover all windows and secure any entrance points. If you own a firearm, keep it with you at all times. Enclose yourself in an area with minimal entrance points. If the experiment breaches your home, exit the building immediately. Do not call anyone and do not accept any phone calls you receive. Wait for further instructions. The TV turned off. I was in a state of confusion, fear, and panic. Was this really an emergency alert or just some elaborate prank? But no, it couldn't be. This alert had just interrupted national television. If Camp could even be considered that, how could it possibly be a prank? Just to be on the safe side, I did everything the alert had told me to do. I locked my doors, covered the windows, and turned off my phone. I ran to my bedroom and locked the door, as my thoughts began to race through my head. And even more concerning, the alert said that this experiment had escaped and it was extremely hostile. But what creature could cause a state of emergency? I have to admit, I was tempted to open my window and just take a peek, but I resisted and I followed the rules. The next few hours were fairly uneventful. I stayed in my room reading books and exercising to pass the time. It was about 2:30 when I heard something smash into my neighbor's house. It sounded like a window being shattered, followed by something large crushing the broken glass. I felt a chill go up my spine as I listened closer. And then I heard the most unpleasant and gut-wrenching sound that I could possibly hear. A scream. It sounded like a woman was screaming, but not because of pain, because of fear. I couldn't hold myself back any longer, and I stood up and I grabbed my curtains. But that exact same moment, I remembered something. It specifically said not to look outside. I didn't want to risk it, so I slowly backed away from my window. But the screaming continued, until at one point, it went quiet. They just stopped out of nowhere. It was as if the screams were suddenly silenced, cut off, the source of it killed. I could only think about what had made that person scream. Something was out there and that unlucky person must have seen whatever it was. No, no, no. I pressed my ear up to the window and I listened. I could hear something moving through my neighborhood. It didn't move like a car or anything like that. It moved slowly, as if it were dragging itself across the road. Without warning, all sounds of movement stopped. This brought panic to me. Why would the creature all of a sudden stop? Suddenly, the sound returned, and it sounded like the creature was moving in my direction, towards my home. Oh God, help me. That was the last straw. I had to see what it was, what was outside. I stood up and made my way towards the window, alarm bells ringing in my head. I gripped the curtains, feeling the worst anxiety that I had ever experienced, and I pulled them back. There's no rational explanation for what I saw next. I mean, there simply isn't. What I saw was what I saw. What traumatized me for life. What I'll remember until the day that I die. This thing was dragging itself down the road. It was a black mass of rotting flesh, with grotesque features. The eyes were green, round, and black, massively out of proportion. Long glistening tentacles and tendrils protruded from the skin of the creature. Each of the tentacles ended in a sharp point, and some even had teeth on the tips of them. There were lots of small holes and wound-like orifices all over the creature, opening and closing as it breathed. Long veins pulsated across the creature's body. The creature was about the size of a school bus, too. I immediately ducked down, and that's when the smell hit me. The smell of rotting flesh and decay. It was so nauseating, and it took all my willpower to not gag or vomit. Immediately, I shut the window and closed up the blinds. I didn't think that the creature had seen me, so at least I didn't have to worry about that. But just as I was finally calming myself down, I heard somebody shouting outside. "Help! Help me, please!" the voice yelled. I scrambled again towards the window, but then I hesitated. The emergency alert had said to not respond to any calls for help, no matter how human they sound. God, no! What is this thing? What is that? I peeked out the window. One of the tentacles ended in a flower-like mouth, and the calls for help sounded like they came from it, as if it was some kind of speaker or sound projector. What? This creature, it couldn't possibly be normal. I watched the creature as it smashed the roof of a small house. One of its tendrils snaked through the house and it returned with a bag of meat. The creature dropped the meat into one of its mouths and the creature grew in size from it. It only grew a foot longer, but nonetheless, it visibly grew in size. I leaned back in my chair, a little too far, and I tipped over. The chair fell with a loud crash and I heard the creature stop moving. I peeked outside and the creature's many eyes looked directly at me. It had heard the chair fall over and now it knew where I was. To this very day, I cannot describe the fear and panic that I felt at that moment. I locked my bedroom door. I had seen the creature easily rip the roof off a house, so I didn't think locking the door would do much to protect myself, but I did it anyway. I heard the creature slowly drag itself towards my house, and one of its tentacles started to snake towards my window. I didn't own any firearms, so I was completely defenseless against the creature. I felt the front door of my house burst open and I heard actual human footsteps run up my stairs as screeches came from outside. A very tall and muscular man, easily 7 foot tall, donned in full tactical gear and a black gas mask, kicked down my bedroom door and pointed a loaded Benelli M4 everywhere in my room before realizing that I was in there. The man took off his mask, revealing a late 20s looking guy with dark and curly hair, dark eyes and beard stubble. "You're kidding me," he muttered. "They didn't even evacuate this place. God, Sergio must be drunk." "What is going on?" I yelled. "Hey," the man snapped. "Calm down, I wasn't expecting anybody to still be here." I needed to get a better vantage point. We need to get out of here and I have to kill this thing. Lawrence, that idiot must have done this. Does he have hackers? What? Who are you? You don't need to know that. I doubt you would believe me anyway. You know how to use this. The man handed me a large and loaded handgun. No, I don't. Well, too bad. Aim, point, fire. You'll definitely need it. The safety's on right now. Just click the little button on the side and it should turn off. Brace yourself for the recoil. I heard crashes coming from downstairs. Crap, the man said. Let's get out of here. He put on the gas mask and ran downstairs, motioning me to follow as we swapped the barrel of his shotgun in multiple rooms, as we burst into the living room at the bottom of the stairs. Large intertwined masses of black tendrils were snaking in the air, blocking the door. The man immediately shot the tendrils, severing them in bursts of black goo as he used a machete to chop the rest of them, firing outside as I ran out, only 10 feet away from the monster. The man began to fire chunks off at the monster, aiming for the eyes as he ran out of ammo, reaching into his backpack and grabbing the stock of an M4, tossing the shotgun and firing at the monster with full auto precision. I decided to be useful and started firing at the monster at point-blank range. The recoil messed my shoulders up, yet I kept firing until the gun clicked. He threw a grenade at it and reloaded his M4, firing again into the monster as the grenade exploded. He threw another grenade and told me to get to a truck parked on the side of the road, as he kept reloading and firing at the monster. He finished it off with his last 3 grenades and he jumped in the truck and caught his breath. Holy crap, he said. I'm gonna need a beer after this one. What's your name? Ali, I replied, breathing heavily. Well, Ali, I think we could use somebody like you.